Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition to the Point Podcast. Everybody's doing well. On this Wednesday, we are now into the fall season. We got the colds running around, masks are back on, which I couldn't be more thrilled about. But things are better because Shay's back with me today. We're going to be talking about Breaking Bad. That always puts a smile on my face. But before we get to season 4, episodes 2 and 3, Shay, you had your big test yesterday. The second of 3, I believe. How did that go down?
It was okay. Yeah, it was a tough one, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm just glad I put it past me. And yeah, like I was telling you before, fail or pass, I'll announce it on the pod in a couple weeks. Well, me and you will be meeting up a few days after in Freddie Beach. So, like you said before, the drink my sorrows away or celebrations. So, I'm happy to get it over with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Either way, we'll have a Jaeger to either celebrate or like you said, just have the sorrows go away a little quicker. But no, we have all the faith in the world here, and I think we're gonna get good news. And at least you don't have to wait too long. October 8th is not, it's not like you said. Kennedy has to wait till December.
Yeah. Those people writing that exam have to wait all the way until probably midway through December until they get that back. And I mean, that's the big one. So you'd rather have that one kind of done and find out if you're doing it again or if you're celebration. So yeah, I know it's good. I don't mind. It's a couple weeks, but I think at first you don't really think about it. You're just happy it's over. But then like a week goes on and you're just like, okay, I just got to know now. Like, am I doing it again or not?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a troll job there. That's not fair, but it's not like people in New Brunswick to make smart decisions, but we'll move on from that because I could just go off as you know for a while here, but I won't because I have learned restraint in my 23 years of life. We ended episode 1 entitled Box Cutter with Gustavo Fring, killing one of his main men, killing Victor, a very nasty death with a box cutter, just ripping, cutting his throat right open. And it's kind of left a holding pattern where Jesse is still dealing with killing Gale or not dealing with it, as we'll touch on in this episode. But Walter is in the mindset of, I need to figure out a way to get rid of this problem.
Yeah, he's on the offense, as we'll get into very shortly. But yeah, he's thinking, what's the next step? When him and Jesse met after this, when they were kind of at that diner and they had their matching tees on, they were just kind of like, Walter's like, what's our next move? Where do we go from here? Are we going to take this guy out, or are we going to play this back? And Jesse's just like, yeah, we just work for him. Like it's just back to business. So two different mindsets, and we kind of see that pretty clearly in the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, so season 2 starts with Walter in this hotel room with this unknown guy, but we quickly learn that he is there to buy a gun. He's looking for protection and ultimately as a way to potentially kill Gustavo Fring down the line.
Yeah, at first it's kind of funny. He just kind of sitting in their mirror and, can you see it? And then the guy goes, well, yeah, I can see it. He's clearly got a holstered gun under his jacket. So he goes with something a little smaller. That's kind of the name of this episode. I think it's called 38 Snub.
Yeah, 38 Snub. Yeah,
38 Snub. So that's the type of, I guess, revolver that he ends up picking. And the guy keeps questioning. He says, if this is really for defense, you would just go to a store and buy it legally, and you wouldn't have to come to me and pay 5 times the price for a gun with the serial numbers, written off, which is obviously very illegal in the States. So, but Walter kind of keeps saying, no, this is for defense, for defense. And it even sounds like he's trying to trick himself into thinking it's for defense, but really he's got other intentions, as we see later on.
Yeah, he even sits on the bed and starts practicing his draw, and he's putting it on the opposite side, which is very awkward. So he bought the holster from the guy as well. He's got that on his belt, and he brings it to his apartment, and he starts practicing his draw when as Skylar starts, calling him looking to talk.
Yeah, so Skylar's been bugging him for a while, trying to figure out this whole idea with the car wash that she wants to purchase and get out of the way so they can start doing money, running money through there. And it's funny, like he's putting bullets in the gun and he's waving the gun around, and it's kind of like, what the hell are you doing? You're gonna get yourself killed here. I think at one point he even pointed to himself with the gun loaded. So he's really, I don't think, for a guy who's shot people before, I don't think he's an expert in the weapons department. So it's interesting to see. But yeah, I know what do you make of I guess of Walter and of this move of him buying a pistol?
Yeah, I think it's a little too obvious. Gus is not going to get killed by a gun. I think he's too smart for that. I think he's got too much protection. And like you said, Walter, if you look the way he's killed people, his first kill was with the, choking the guy with the bike lock. And then he ran two guys over. They haven't exactly been, I'm right in front of you, I'm going to shoot you. So he's an unorthodox murderer, let's say. And I don't think he'd be comfortable just standing in front of Gus and shooting him, nor have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I think both of those incidents that you mentioned were both done kind of in the moment, and they were both done in adrenaline, where this one's more, you have to have your nerves calmed. And then the way Walter, I guess, is approaching it is, he's just going to pull out the gun and shoot him at point blank, which is not really as style as we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and to your point, yeah, just we saw Jesse try to do it, walk up to two guys, and it's one thing to have that adrenaline to save another person, or if even just in Art's case, if you're at a bar and you see a woman getting picked on by an asshole of a guy, it's adrenaline to jump in and maybe throw a punch or shove him. And if it was just me or you, and we don't like this guy because he's got a Nazi, a swastika on his shirt, maybe we wouldn't be as brave if we didn't have some extra motivation.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's kind of what we see. And, sure enough, they go to work. I was surprised that he brings the gun to the workplace, but I guess if he's trying to see Gus there, that's his whole intention. I guess that's maybe why he does it. But I just thought it was a risky move, because if he gets caught with it, I mean, God knows what they'll do.
Yeah, very true. And yeah, he's probably thinking maybe because Gus was there last time, he'll get another visit now that they need more supervision. But Mike's around, and the new guy, Tyrese, is also hanging around, and Walter's not real happy about that. He's pissed off that they got more surveillance. And Mike, it's interesting because they weigh the meth, they weigh the product, but then Mike says, no, wait again, new policy. And it's clearly just, making sure there's no more funny business.
Yeah, getting them to it. And obviously it's more work for them to reweigh it with them right beside them. But yeah, I guess, those are the policies in place, kind of making their life harder, a little way of, you can't really kill the guy, but you can also punish him by, overworking him, we'll say. And then Walter looks up, and kind of Mike's up on the railing, we'll say, in this lavatory. And he says, where's Gus? I want to clear the air. And Mike says, you'll never see Gus ever again.
Yeah. So he keeps saying he needs 1 second with him. Just get, I just need that. And yeah, clearly Gus is smarter than that, and he's not going to give Walter the opportunity, and Mike shuts him down quickly. Walt kind of tries to talk to Jesse about this, and Jesse's just like oblivious. He goes, yeah, no, whatever. Like, let's just work, man. But what's being hidden is Jesse's pain. He's not dealing with Gale's death. He doesn't have a therapist to talk to. Walter is not giving him the attention he really needs as a father figure right now. And instead, he's bought a ginormous speaker that just, blares music, because silence is the worst thing for Jesse. I think maybe you can hear the ringing of the gun, potentially, Shay. But he's got the music going, and Skinny Pete and Badger are back in his life.
Yeah, he kind of gets his boys over, and we quickly learn that Jesse's kind of back on his drug habit. He's kind of in remission. Is that what it's called when you're an addict and you get back on it? So he's in remission, and he's using again. So he gets, Skinny P and Badger to come over and they do some lines, and they're like, they're talking about video games, and they're just going kind of AWOL. And, Jesse's like, let's just throw a party. Like, let's get some people here.
Yeah. And like you said, he's even changing his attitude because he's enabling them. Like they were clean, and then he kind of forced them to do the drugs with him. But yeah, we see quite the crew come to Jesse's. Not exactly Harvard scholars. They are a lot of bikers. You see, it looks like some homeless people, Shay, quite frankly. Like they're just on the floor there. And, to find them in one group, there are a lot of drug addicts.
Yeah, and we see this get progressively worse over the two episodes, but this one kind of more of a upbeat kind of happy vibe that you would say. Everyone's kind of partying, having a good time, drinking, smoking, doing drugs inside, and yeah, the boys are having the time of their life, really dancing with women. They got the music blaring, like you said. Jesse's house is trashed, but I mean, he doesn't seem to really care too much, as we see.
Yeah, and so they go through the whole night of partying, doing drugs. We see them wake up, Skinny P's on the floor and Badger sleeping. As Jesse goes to work, he kind of says, go get breakfast for everybody, hands him some money, and get some booze while you're out. And when I come back, I want the party to be back better than ever. So he just can't be left alone. That's the worst. Jesse can't handle that.
Yeah, and like you said, this is like a bad coping mechanism for him. He's, instead of maybe dealing with by talking to someone, he's just going to have this constant, chaos going around him. And that's kind of what we see throughout the two episodes. He just wants that because he just doesn't want the silence, like you said, because it'll probably just eat him alive.
Yeah, and yeah, it's not good. Meanwhile, Hank is still obviously working on his physiotherapy. He's starting to get a little bit better, but he's very much hooked on the minerals, the rocks, and he hates when people call them that. But we're really seeing Hank and Marie. They had a tough relationship in season 2 when he did not talk to her about killing Tuco and dealing with that emotional hazard. And he's really being poor to her again here at the start of season 4.
Yeah, he's really, nothing ever seems good enough for him, and he's kind of just like shutting her out. I just kind of like you said in season 2 when he wasn't talking about what was going on, how he was feeling, and that's a lot of what we're seeing here. He just kind of sits in his bed, and he does have a physical therapist come over, and they kind of work together, and even they have a better relationship than you could say than him and Marie do at this point.
Absolutely. The guy's motivating. He gives Hank a high five after he does the best work he's ever done, and Marie kind of goes to congratulate him after, and he just tells her to get out. It's very much cold and seemingly coming from nowhere.
Yeah, you can't really tell why he'd be such a, to be honest, be such a dick. Like Marie is kind of his biggest supporter at this point, and kind of getting him through, got him home with some unorthodox methods that we've seen in the hospital. But no, yeah, it's weird that he's being so cold. Or do you have a theory or maybe a reason why you think that is?
Potentially it's because Hank is, she's treating him, she's helping him every day. We've seen him have to use the bedpan, certain instances, and he's just a liability, and he's used to being, the pillar of strength, and he's very much, he needs her to do basically anything. All he can do is turn the TV on, look at his minerals. Even she has to carry them into him. And, that's so anti-Hank. He's usually the strong one, and he's basically he's useless right now.
Yeah, just kind of a shell of what he used to be, but he really doesn't have any other options. So anyways, that's funny where that stands. And I think we get into more of Skylar and unless he avoids Skylar altogether in this episode.
Yeah, well, he kind of when she called, he was very, didn't answer it. He was screening her calls and she called him out, but he actually gets mad at her because she mentions car wash on the phone, and he goes, why'd the hell did you say car wash? Now we're liable if somebody hears this. And she was like, what the hell? We're buying a car wash. That's not illegal. And it's kind of a funny exchange between the two of them.
Yeah, especially what happens with the champagne in the next episode. But
Mhm.
it is funny. And, Skylar at this point is doing kind of the dirty work with this car wash. She's watching how, the different cars come in and out. They get detailed, they get hand waxed. And she's really, building up, I guess, the knowledge of the business and like how much money goes through, which I thought was really interesting because, it really did kind of relate to what I do for work. And I could just kind of see, where the wheels were turning for. And it was kind of interesting when she all lays it out. But yeah, I know she's clearly doing this because she wants an understanding of the business and what kind of revenue they generate.
Right. Yeah. She's in the parking lot. She's got Holly in the front seat with her, giving her a bottle and kind of, scouting out the property. Jesse's still partying and things are going out, still somewhat upbeat there. But Skinny answers the door, and it's Andrea, who, if we remember from season 3, was really Jesse's girlfriend. He was with her when she found out that her brother Tomas, who was the little boy on the bike, was killed by Gustavo's men, who then in turn Walter killed for Jesse, really saving his life. What we didn't know was that Jesse left her a large, sack of money. And she kind of put 2 and 2 together that Tomas's, those 2 guys are dead. She's got a pile of money on her step. She knew it's from Jesse. She just wanted to make sure that she was safe and okay.
Yeah, she even asked, is anyone going to come for this money? Because she doesn't know. And, Jesse kind of turns that down and says no. Really sad scene. Brock, this girl's son really seemed to be really, really attached to Jesse, but obviously Andrea walks in. She saw the party. She saw everything going on. She knows that the lifestyle, I guess you could say, Jesse's returned to. So it's kind of difficult for her to maybe, go back to him, knowing that that's what his act, that's what's going on. But Jesse's kind of lies, says he's busy with work and whatnot, and she's like, I'm not here for excuses. I just kind of want to know about this, and then I'll be on my way.
Yeah, and she even says, you don't owe me anything, and he kind of says that I'll go see Brock another time, but it's kind of like a couple breaking up in this scene.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that this was probably the last visit we'd have of her. But maybe it's too much for him, thinking about, that he may even feel the cause of, what was her brother's name again? Tomas's death, because maybe if he wouldn't have said anything, about them using kids, then maybe they wouldn't have killed him in the first place, and He would have still been there. So maybe he feels some of that guilt coming off the death, because obviously he did have an apartment with whether he liked it or not. So maybe he kind of feels guilty, and that's kind of why he's shunning away this woman and her boy.
Right. No, good point. And yeah, he kind of just goes back inside, and the downward spiral of these 2 episodes. Walt, on the other hand, can't see Gus at work. Mike said he's not going to get an opportunity to see him. So he does have balls. You can give that about Walter. He drives to Gus's house. If you remember at the end of season 3, they had dinner. So he knows where he lives. He's in his cul-de-sac. He throws on the Heisenberg hat for a good measure, because he can't kill somebody as Walter White. That's not Walter. This is his alter ego. And parks the car, starts walking to the door, and he gets a call.
Yeah, he stops right in his tracks, right in the middle of the road, and sure enough, I believe it's Mike, right?
Yeah, it's either Mike or Tyrese, but yeah, it's just go home, Walter.
Yeah, so clearly he's been being tailed, or he's either been being tailed, or they have somebody, all the time outside Gus's house because of something like this. And right away he gets up and leaves. He's kind of looking around like, where the hell, where am I being spotted from? And he can't see anybody because it's dark. And yeah, he's gone. And that's that just kind of shows you the reach that Gus has. Like, even if you think you have a chance, you really don't, because he's got eyes everywhere.
Yeah, my guess is they probably have a bug on his car because, like you said, the street's completely empty, and yet he still gets the call, "Go home, Walter." And it's alarming for him because he thought this was the perfect time for him to get in and out, kill Gus, and his problems are over. But they're far from that. Skylar, on the other hand, has scouted out a car wash. She thinks she knows the business, and she decides to drive to chat with the owner, Bogdan. And, you know, she says she's interested in buying it, but he says, the job's tough. And she offers him 879,000, which is, very good number for a car wash. And, but he responds with no 10 million because of who he's buying it from.
Yeah, right away. She's like, he goes, I know who you are and I know who your husband is.
Mhm.
And if you think I'm going to let him come in here and buy my wash after what he damaged, he was like, he damaged my fresheners and he grabbed his nuts and, called him whatever. So clearly there's some bad blood with the way he left it. And he even goes, no, 10 million is not enough, 20 million. And, Skylar's like, okay, we'll see how this goes. But even goes as far as to say, what kind of a man is he if he sends his woman in here to do all his business? Which we'll find out how Walter reacts to that in the next episode.
Yeah, and Skylar didn't like it much either, which we'll
No.
touch on. But yeah, he has.
If you haven't figured this out, Skylar's a big personality. Even though
Yes.
we might, she is a very proud woman, and I think that's why she likes doing this kind of work and being part of, I guess the dirty doings of Walter, because, in a way it makes her feel like, she's part of it and she's contributing to the family as well as he is.
Right. And it's a different show, but Anna Gunn, who plays Skylar, very much plays a strong, for much of the show, an independent woman, because Walter in the beginning is away so much cooking. And then she really has to kind of take matters into her own hands more and more as the show goes on. But you see in different shows, like you could say like Marvel movies like Wonder Woman or the one with Brie Larson. Shay, you know that one better than me.
Captain Marvel.
That, yeah. Like they're easy to kind of put female leads as strong, independent women. But I think she kind of falls into that Elaine Bennis, type genre of a character, because she's a strong woman, but it's in a different show. So it's kind of hard to pull that out sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I often, not that I've watched the whole show, but the one season I did watch of Peaky Blinders, the aunt, is another kind of reminder when I was watching that for the first time, kind of remind me of that same strength. Both leaders in their families basically, and, taking an extra step.
Absolutely. But yeah, she's hated. First watch, I hated her. I don't hate her as much anymore because I really see the plight that she's in, and I respect her fortitude and what she's gone through dealing with her crazy husband. But Jesse's party finally ends. Skinny P and Badger, they're gonna split. They've been up for like 3 straight days, and it's kind of this sad moment where Jesse's like, no, guys, like, please stay, without saying it. But they don't pick up on that social cue. And they're just like, I got to live my life. Like, I got a cat. I got to go feed it, whatever. Like, they have a life also.
Yeah. Or they're just making excuses because they're probably just, you come to, it's like a festival. When you come to the end of the festival, you're done. You're exhausted, you're dehydrated, and you're just out of it.
Yeah,
and
so
I think that's what they've been going through.
We see the house is trashed. There's starting to see some graffiti on the walls, and Jesse is not in a good place. He cranks this speaker, which is ginormous, has 6 different kind of amps to it, and he puts his head right in front of one of them, and you just see him sit in front of it, and he just starts crying uncontrollably. Shaking.
Yeah, it's the way the episode ends, and it's kind of like the conclusion that Jesse's not at a good space right now, and he's really, really feeling the effects of not only shooting Gale, but maybe seeing Victor be killed right in front of him as well. It's kind of dramatic to think about, but yeah, like it's all kind of adding up, and with the drug use that he's been on and everything else, you can just see that he's not in a good space at all, and obviously he's not coping with it, like we said, pretty healthy.
Right. That was the end of the episode. I went to this scene just because I think it's a really good scene with Walter, and of course one of our favorites, Mike. So Mike is at a tavern, and he's having looks like a whiskey, and Walter comes in, and Mike, being Mike, just kind of says, "You should do a better job at tailing somebody." But Walter says, "Let me buy you around." And he just kind of sits there and he starts going off. Says, I didn't want any of this to happen, Mike, and I was only showing loyalty to Jesse. And I had to protect him. And I had no ill will towards you for, having to kill me potentially. Like, you were just following orders like a good guy, showing loyalty to Gus. But, is he really loyal to you? Look what he did to Victor.
Yeah, no, he does a comparison. I think even in this episode, it was really small scene, but Mike's at the same tavern, and he's having coffee, and he kind of looks down, and he has a piece of blood from that. And I think it's kind of like, I don't know, how did you interpret that scene anyways? Like, it's just kind of it's a small scene. It just doesn't last very long.
It's kind of
just
a
Mike sitting on his
throwaway,
own.
but it's kind of like maybe just a reminder, or like holy crap, that happened maybe for Mike. It would have to make you think. I mean, you're same as Victor. He was close with. Mike doesn't get close to people, but he was as close to Victor as he was anybody else, other than his granddaughter. And it's just human nature to think that could be me.
Yeah, absolutely. And the scene where he's sitting with Walter, he's really not giving Walter anything. Like, he's look at him, and he even starts to look angrier and angry as Walter sits there. And he even goes, are you done? Like, are you done with this conversation? Basically saying, and Walter's doing his best to persuade him, like, we got to take him out. Like, or one of us could be next. And, out of nowhere, Mike just hauls off on Walter and really, for lack of better words, kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah, he gets him good, right? Punches him in the face, knocks him off the chair, and then for good measure gives him a swift kick right in the ribs, and just kind of says thanks for the drink, and in such a Mike fashion just gets up and leaves. But Walter had good points, but I thought about the scene again, Shay. He says, that Victor could be you, and this could be us. Just give me a second alone with him, and it'll be freedom for both of us. But maybe Mike is more secure than we really think, because if he was truly worried, why wouldn't he help Walter in this situation? He would know. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think this is where those two scenes kind of, they match up against each other. Walter's worry with, Mike seeing that piece of blood from Victor kind of goes, for Mike, it's like, okay, it was there, but at the same time, I know my spot with Gus as of right now. So, and I know that, it will, I am safe, even though me and Victor might have been on the same pole. There must be something more there that we're, as a viewer, not seeing, because clearly Mike feels a lot more deeper into Gus's army, we'll say, as we don't get to see that right now. Right.
And we know why he's doing it for his granddaughter, but also I think we learn about that connection as the season goes along. Certain episodes where Mike might be Gus's most trusted confidant, because he relies on Mike for his protection, for finding information about different businesses, like we've seen him with Mr. Chang, the Asian man that he broke into to talk about. So Mike does know a lot of the inner workings of Gus's business, and maybe him showing that faith is Mike showing it to Gus in this moment when he beats up Walter.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, interesting scene for sure. And Walter's left beaten up, and we start season 4, episode 3, titled Open House, which is just so fitting, which we'll get into. But Walt, it's not a throwback or a lead in. We see a lot of these. Sometimes it's a flashback or a look ahead that you'll find out why this is happening early in the episode. But this one's just a generic one. Walter arrives at the lab, got a black eye over his right eye. He makes himself a coffee. But Shay, what do we see? They've installed security cameras in the lab.
Yeah, Walter's not happy. It's not a generic, security camera where it maybe comes to area. It follows the person that's in there. So he does kind of like a lap around to his lab. It follows him, and then he kind of walks right up to it, gives it the bird, and clearly he's not happy. He feels like his privacy is being breached, as he says.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention this, but Mike asked Walter why he was carrying a piece when they're at the tavern.
Oh, yeah.
So this might be direct correlation as to why the cameras are up, because if he has a gun in there, it's a good thing to know. And now they can follow his every move and see what kind of tricks he's going to try to pull.
It also shows what great of an eye and, his experience Mike has. He was able to spot that, even though Walter chose the smaller gun thinking that it wasn't going to be noticeable, as you remember in the beginning of episode 2, when the guy said, yeah, no, you won't be able to see this one as much, but Mike can still see it clearly.
Yeah, he's got experience with firearms for sure. And this episode really has a couple different plot lines. One, we'll start with Skylar, and she goes to see Walt about the car wash. At first, he doesn't, she calls his phone when he's at his apartment. He doesn't answer it. But finally, she just starts hammering on the doorbell, and he finally answers. And she kind of says, like, "Can I come in?" And he goes, "No." And he's just like this, like hiding one of his eyes. And finally, he reveals that he has the black eye, and she's very concerned.
Yeah, she goes into a bit of a frantic, saying, "Are you in danger? Like, what the hell happened?" And he lies at first, of course, like he normally does, and says, "Oh no, I just ran into something." And she gets it out of him, and he softens the story up by saying, "Oh, I had a disagreement with a coworker about a business strategy at a bar," which is just hilarious because it's he's just fabricating a very big lie. But yeah, no, she's very, very worried, obviously, at this point, and but she kind of gets him on board and saying, like, we got to get this car wash going because even though I made this offer, like we got to talk to Saul and see what we can do about this.
Yeah, and she kind of asks, like, "Are you in danger?" And he doesn't say no. He kind of goes, "I got more in my mind than a car wash," which isn't no. Like, clearly Walter still thinks he's very much disposable. And I think he does think he's in some sort of danger, maybe not imminent, but he knows damn well that Gus would rather, if Gus could find another cook that he trusted, he would have Walter dead, as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's evident really by, and going back to what Jesse said, if Gus had someone he could trust, as much, he would do it in a heartbeat. But because he doesn't have anyone he trusts and knows that can cook to that level, then it's just not going to work right now, which is the only thing keeping Walter alive, and Walter knows that clearly.
Yeah, and so they kind of talk about going to the car wash together, and he's just, whatever, like go see him again. He's not going to sell it to us, and he's kind of done with the car wash for right now. After cooking, we see Walt kind of go complaining to Jesse about the security cameras not having freedom, but Jesse's not concerned. He wants just to hang out with Walter. He says, "Do you want to do something after?" Like Walt's like, "What?" He goes like, "Just go karting. It's really fun. Like, it's a couple blocks down." He goes, no, I got a business meeting. I can't." And Walt does ask about how Jesse's doing, but it's not the most sincere way. It's kind of a throwaway question. And Jesse's so clearly asking, just, could we spend an afternoon together where I can just do something fun and not think about it? And Walt does not pick up on that social cue.
No, it's like you said, he doesn't want to be alone right now. And, even he goes to the depths of asking Walter, who, they have a decent relationship at times, but sometimes they don't, and asking him to do something because, he just wants someone to do it with. But yeah, well, like you said, Walter, obviously he's got, this dealing with Saul and Skylar later on, but at the same time, he just doesn't make time for him at all. It's kind of funny. He asked how he's doing, and then Jesse goes, "Oh yeah, how's your eye? How are you doing?" As
Yeah.
like a way of like saying like, yeah, mind your business and keep yourself in line.
Yeah, and it's a quick pan to Jesse's home, and you mentioned how it was kind of an upbeat party the last time. Something where it's some drugs, but a lot of alcohol, people dancing, having a good time. Maybe a Dolan's vibe. But he gets home and it's changed. It's the music is not as upbeat. It's more kind of somber, and there's graffiti all over the walls, pizza boxes everywhere, and it's mostly filled with tweaked out people, like crazy people that are drug addicts but past that point of even having a coherent conversation with most of these people.
Yeah, he walks into his house. Someone's walking out with a toaster, which I find just the funniest scene. And he doesn't say anything, so he doesn't really care. So he's just kind of like whatever. But walks inside. People, like you said, are graffitiing. They're tearing his house apart.
Yeah.
People are banging on the floor. Then there's people up fighting. It just looks like a bad, what do you call a mosh pit? It just kind of looks like a terrible mosh pit in there. And he doesn't care. He just goes, sits down, lights up a dart, and it's just like a relaxing thing for him.
Yeah, it's better than the alternative of being alone. He just kind of
Yeah.
sits there not knowing how bad it really is. So like you said, Walter goes to meet with Mr. Saul Goodman and Skylar, and they're at his place, and Saul says, "Okay, no car wash. Let's buy the nail salon." Like he pitched to Jesse. We got the guy. I got the contacts. Let's do it. But she's not down. She's like, "No, I'm buying the car wash." She's determined. She's not, he goes, and he's kind of like, "Well, why?" He goes, "Well, he was rude to me, and he even was rude about Walter," which perks him up.
Yeah, and this is what Walter, such a proud person, goes, what did he say? And like I said about the last episode, he goes, Bogdan goes, yeah, he's not even man enough. He can walk in here and do it himself. He's got to get his wife to do it for him. And right away, Skylar knows how to push buttons, and this is a perfect button to push because Walter goes, yeah, no, it's gonna be this car wash. It's not gonna be another car wash. And Saul lays out some options like, we can do this the physical way, break a leg. And they're like, no, we can't do that. Okay, well, I'll get someone from the IRA to go in there and really F them up from a financial standpoint. No, we can't do that either. And while this is all going on, Huel knocks on the door. If we mentioned him the last, he's kind of this fluffier, bigger,
he's
black
a beautiful
guy.
black man.
Yeah, he's a big, beautiful black man, and he knocks on the door, and Saul's like, "No, not right now." And he turns to Walter. He goes, "Can you use your restroom?" And Walter's like, "Yeah, sure, I don't care." And you see Huel kind of do a little, that little strut you do when you're kind of holding in, and he goes in there.
Strut. Yep.
Yeah. Some people on this pod have done this strut before. It happens though.
It happens.
It's a thing. And you know what? And they're trying to figure out a way they can get Bogdan to sell without having to, I guess, bring too much attention to themselves or, do it with violence.
Yeah, there's a couple fun. The Huel scene's hilarious. And then Saul mentions terrorism about him being like Middle Eastern. And Walt pipes in, Saul, he's Romanian. And it's just, I found that so funny, that they could use that against him. But he goes, no, he's Romanian. And that's great. But yeah, Skylar says, I'll figure it out. There'll be something. We're not gonna rip his leg off. We're not gonna threaten him. I'll figure it out. Now, the main plot of this episode with the title is Open House. And we've seen Marie in the early season. She's she's a good person, but she has some problems. We all do, but she
Yeah.
kind of she has an addictive personality, and I think she kind of rides the wave of, you know, doing some things that are wrong, just morally wrong. We've seen her shoplifting, and she rode the wave of that until eventually getting caught. And, you know, there are some people that do this in a positive sense where they really like helping people, or, you know, and, you know, you could say drug abuse is the same thing. You try one thing, it gets worse and worse. So Marie is going to an open house, you know, looking at this home. And to make matters worse, she has an alias. She starts talking, you know, I'm Tori Costner, and she says she's divorced, has a son, but, you know, wants to keep him homeschooled because she doesn't know about the public school system. And, well, you know, I'll send him to camp. I don't want him to be a weirdo, but, and she goes on and on. And while she's doing this, you know, talking and kind of talking about this imaginary life, she's stealing things while she's in the home.
Yeah, yes, it's super funny when we get to the climax of what happens. But you're right, she's got a detailed plan down to a T of this fake life she's made up. And it is very much, it seems like a very obsessive like habit that she's just created out of nowhere. And she's just kind of spinning this web of lies to, you know, to these realtors who are, you know, have their open house. And we even see her go as far as stealing a picture of an older couple and out of one of these homes.
Yeah, that was something else. The second open house she goes to, there's this realtor, and she's talking about, you know, Hank worked for the NSA and or for NASA, sorry, and she's a hand model. But in the entryway, she notices these old spoons, and there's 50 of them for the 50 states in the US. And after going through this whole shooting match with this female realtor, after Marie is gone, the female realtor notices that she stole the New Mexico spoon.
Yeah, so and that really that scene was the first little indication that she's back to stealing. And I mean, it's so clear that she hasn't got over that habit that we saw in the first season, where she stole the tiara for Holly. And yeah, it's just funny. It's a funny scene to see. And this realtor lady knows right away. She knows who it was, because I'm sure there's only one person in that whole, you know, open house that would have mentioned the spoons.
Right. So she goes to a third open house, and she's another fake story. She's talking to these two older folks that own the home, and she doesn't see, you know, right away, but behind her is that female realtor. And she saw another complete fake story, and she finally turns around and sees who it is. And she's, oh, the jig's up. So she kind of rushes out to her car, but before she can get away, the female realtor confronts her, and they get into this, you know, she calls her a fatty, and she starts pulling her purse, and we see just a mountain of items spill out of her purse.
Yeah, it looks like a squirrel. And you know, if you dig into his little pouch, you find all the goodies that he's taken. And yeah, that's, you know, she's caught red-handed, and she's like, "You're gonna pay for this," but obviously it's the other way around. And Hank, who we see, you know, laid up, kind of gets a frantic call from her, basically saying like, I'm in deep shit here.
Yeah, and you know, he's kind of just so pissed off, and he's, well, you did this to me again. Like, are you freaking kidding me? But eventually he has to kind of calm down. Like, no, I'll make a call to stay put, you know. And it's this scene where we've seen his buddy help him the first time with Marie and kind of get her some help. And while she's at the station, she's sitting there, and he goes, "Marie, it's no problem. I'm just going to get you home. There's going to be no charges filed." But she just starts crying, uncontrollably crying. And it's kind of, we're seeing that her and Hank's poor relationship has really, it's bad. It's really bad. And I think it's a direct correlation as to why she's doing so much stealing, because that's part of the reason why it started in season 1.
Yeah, exactly. Just this neglect and, this lack of attention that she seems to get, or satisfaction for, the work she does, because she does a lot for Hank, and clearly she doesn't get, any appreciation. Oh, I can't even say that word. She can't say
Appreciation.
she yeah, appreciation back from Hank. So that's kind of the frustration boiling over. And, she's developed this whole new habit where she creates this web of lies, this whole fake family, and,
Mm.
really spins it off. And like you said, it's kind of just finds a new place to steal, because before she used to just steal from stores, and now it seems she's stealing from other people's homes, which you could probably consider worse, I guess.
Yeah, it's one thing stealing from a corporation, but stealing from just, another average American in this case is definitely something to behold. And yeah, I do put some of the blame on Hank. Obviously, Marie is the one acting out here, but he's not a good husband. I think it'd be hard to write the narrative that he is a good one. And she's not the best person in the world. There's no debating that, but he doesn't help make her life any easier. She has a tough life already before he was, disabled and can't walk. It's only gotten tougher for Marie through the series.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, his negativity is really kind of drawing an effect on her. There's even just the part where she walks in and, he's like, "Oh, I got your chips," and then he checks, and I think they're Fitos instead of Cheetos or something of that matter. They have the same goddamn name, so I don't know what it matters. And, he kind of snaps and loses on her, and she's just like, "You know what? I'm done with your shit." So
Yeah,
they're at a breaking
yeah,
point,
they are.
really.
They're very much at a breaking point where she can't do this anymore. And so Skylar is thinking of a way to screw over Bogdan. And it's when she's cleaning dishes in the sink, and when she sees the soap go through the drain, and it's just like this bing in her head, and she goes, "Okay, I got it." So she calls Saul, and what he does is he has a lot of like just different men that work for him. Huel being one of them, Mike occasionally his PI, but he has this new redhead on the payroll, played by Bill Burr. If you don't know Bill Burr, he is a comedian, not for everybody. I know me and you, I think you enjoy him, Shay.
Oh yeah, I don't mind Bill Burr.
I don't mind him either.
He's very controversial to some of the stuff he says, because, let's be honest, he speaks his mind, and that pisses a lot of people off. But,
Mhm.
it's even funny seeing Bill Burr so late, because now he's this old bastard, bald as hell, and
Mhm.
in this episode, like you said, he's a redhead, got a good head of lettuce, and he's pretending to be a water tester,
Yeah.
and this is how they're going to take down Bogdan.
So yeah, he goes and he's checking for hot water pollution, the sanitation test. And he kind of says, like, "You've been polluting the ground here. And this is bad. Like, I don't know how you let this happen. You're breaking the law." And Bogdan goes, "No, no, like, it's no big deal. Just I'll change up my soap. I'll make sure it's good and clean." He goes, "No, I can't do that. Like, this is I gotta report it." And he says the replacement's going to cost $200,000 plus for you to redo this, plus checking the sanitation. You're going to have people coming in all the time. But Bogdan's not completely sold. He's like, "No, no, no. Like, what law am I breaking? Like, tell me what law definitively that I'm breaking, and I'll believe you." And Bill Burr, we'll just call him for now, he has an earpiece in, and on the other end of it is Skylar running through basically laws with him of what Bogdan's breaking.
Yeah, so basically, Bill Burr is speaking through Skylar at this point, and she, to her credit, she was ready. She had all the books there. She had every rule, and basically says, you can be charged $5,000 a day for, keep your business going under, this and this law and this regulation through, New Mexico. And sure enough, that satisfies Bogdan, and he's pissed off, but he can't say anything because the rule book just got thrown right at his face.
Right. So Bill Burr leaves, and Skylar's got a big smile because she knows she's got his attention. He doesn't know that it's her doing it, but he's definitely alarmed. Before we get back to Walt and Skylar, the ending for this episode for Jesse is he's throwing money at this kind of overweight guy on the floor, and he's trying to land it in his mouth while he's been snoring. After throwing about 4 or 5, I think it's $50 bills at him, he finally lands one. There's this homeless guy who wakes up and he's just kind of like looking at him, like smiling, looking at the money. And it's a whole bunch of tweakers in there. And Jesse just yells, "Money!" And he throws a huge stack of cash in the air. You just see all these people like vultures just start to wrestle for it on the floor.
Yeah, it's almost, this may be bad comparison. It's almost like rats digging around looking for food. They're going around this big old fat guy who's, just sleeping on the floor, which is kind of still pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's kind of like, I don't even know what to think of it really. It's like, is Jesse lost his money? It's like money's not even an object at this point. Like, he's trashing his house, he's throwing his money away. Clearly he's back on drugs. And what is his objective here, Juggy? What do you think he's getting from all this?
Yeah, the money, I guess, is associated with Gale in a sense, because he killed Gale to continue cooking. So he's making that money because of what he did, if I'm trying to play psychologist here. And maybe it's the fact that he's making money because of his wrongful act, that it just doesn't sit well with him that he's having all this cash on him, maybe. But it also could just be him snapping.
Yeah, I didn't know how to interpret this scene, because he's really just kind of like, he's just feeding the fire at this point with these people in his house. Like, they probably won't ever leave if they know they're just going to get there and get paid and get to do drugs and do whatever they want.
Right. And he's also helping people in a way, which we know Jesse likes to do. And even though it's drug addicts and it's probably going to go to blow or crystal or whatever, in a sense, he's helping out the less fortunate. So maybe it's something good in his mind.
True.
But yeah, this is worse than I think we've ever seen him. Even after Jane's death, when he was on the heroin, yeah, he was in a really bad spot there. But this is more like he needs to get back to rehab and figure out his mental state, because that was just getting off that heroin. This is much more, because yes, he's back on drugs, but it's also just deep in his psyche right now that he can't get that image of Gale out of there.
Yeah. It's also like a scene where it's just him and Walter. I think it's that scene where, he asks him to do something, and he says, you don't get used to someone beating the shit out of you, but you kind of do.
Yeah.
And you really think about it, no one's really been through the ringer more than Jesse, because what happened with, Hank and Tuco and whatever else, really just kind of beating on him from the time this show started, really.
Yeah. Life's been kicking his ass.
Yeah, basically.
He hasn't been able to fight back. And he's been a stepped on character in the show here. And he's probably just reaching a breaking point, which I can't blame him. He's been through a ton here. So Walt and Skylar are at home, and Walter's like, "Yeah, it was a good try, Skylar, but it's been 5 hours. It's not going to work. Whatever. Let's go by the nail salon." And finally, she gets a call from Bogdan, and she has a different offer.
Yeah, this would drive me crazy. I think it would drive you crazy as well. He's ready to give the offer. He says, $879, it's a fair deal. I'll take it. And Skylar goes, "No, I think the offer is actually going to be $800, and it's because you're a rude person." And she says, "Oh, you don't want it," and hangs up. And this is one of the scenes where I really, Skylar gets under your skin, because you're like, oh, just take it. Like, what are you doing? And Walter's like, "Well, you just ruined the only chance of getting it." He's not calling back. It's like, I'll go call Saul, and I'll get this figured out with the nail salon, and because there's no way he's calling back now. And if she was a poker player, she'd be one lucky hell of a poker player.
Yeah, she's definitely she's got some stones. She's ready to ride it out on the river with, you know, a 3-4 offsuit. But yeah, he's told her that she's been wrong twice, and then she gets a call, and Bogdan has accepted the offer, and it was a risk she probably shouldn't have taken, because if she wanted it that bad, she should have just said yes. And yes, it's ours now. But to her credit, it worked out for Skylar. They now own the car wash, and he celebrates by buying a $300+ bottle of champagne. And she is not. She thought that was a very stupid decision of him.
Yeah, she's like, well, how did you buy it? And he goes, with cash. And she goes, well, where did you buy it? And he's like, at the store. And he kind of dismisses it, but he's the same guy who over the phone didn't want to talk about this car wash. So, even though this is maybe a smaller detail, maybe it could be just as important, really, because of course they're supposed to be saving money. She's supposed to be on unemployment. He's a non-working teacher, and they're really trying to keep up with this image that they don't make very much. But obviously that pissed her off, but it ended with another glass of champagne, and they kind of got over it.
Yeah, they had to eliminate the evidence, she said. So they finished the bottle, but yeah, it's Walter is a hypocrite a lot, and this was definitely an instance of him being a hypocrite, because he was getting mad at her for something that he told. He got mad at her for doing the same thing that he just did. So it's funny to see her call him on that, and he kind of had to accept his fate there, knowing that he was wrong, and that he probably shouldn't be doing this. But they have the car wash; they can now launder money, literally and figuratively, because they car wash. But moving forward, what's the most interesting storyline as we progress for you?
Well, we're not even done there, really, Juggy. When you think about it, we still have the last scene, I guess, of the episode is the same cop who came and bailed Marie out also pays a visit to them, and he's there, and right away she's like, "Am I in trouble?" And he's like, "No, you're not in trouble, Marie. Like I just came here for Hank, actually." So he visited him, and they kind of go over like some small talk and whatnot. But he's there for a reason, and it's because he is assigned to Gale's murder. And if we remember from last week, there was an important piece of evidence that Gale left behind when he got shot in the head.
Yeah, so he has his lab notes, and in the lab notes, he has it marked WW, Walter White. Now nobody can interpret that right now, but he's basically saying, Hank, I need your help. You're an independent right now. Drug cases. And he's kind of like, I'm a cripple. Like, what am I, for lack of a better word, I guess probably insensitive, but I sit here all day. All I can do is look at rocks. Like, there's nothing I can do for you, because this stuff. You're still smart. You still have that brain. And I can't take it to the DEA, because then it becomes a DEA case. I don't want that. Mm-hmm. So I can't take it to Steve Gomez. So Hank goes, no, like I'm not interested. But he leaves it there. And it's very smart. We know Hank's personality. He's very impulsive. And if it's sitting there, what else he's going to be staring at it for literally 24 hours. The guy doesn't sleep. So, like I said, at the end of the episode, Marie's asleep with her little thing on over the eyes. I don't know what you call that, little sleep mask. And masks. He's got the light on looking at minerals, can't sleep, watching some stupid show, and he grabs the notebook.
Yeah, and it's a way of, things are circling back. Remember how close Hank got to Jesse and Walter at the junkyard, if you can remember, when they were, he was outside the RV, and it's kind of like a little nibble, and it's it's a long shot, but we can see where this is going, and the fact that if they can trace it back to something, or whose notes are and who Gale was working with, well, it could relate to something big, and Hank is now part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting scene to end the episode. To me, that was really good writing to get Hank back involved. We've seen him be a really shitty person to Marie. She's gone through some hard times, but maybe he has been his best version of himself when he's on a task, when he's really, focused, and this will get him back in that, line of thinking.
Yeah, really right now, you could say he has minerals, but he doesn't really have anything to live for. I mean, he doesn't have his work, so he probably feels like he is useless. Like he said, he's like, I can't do anything. I'm confined to this bed.
Mm-hmm.
But, he, like you said, he's a man of motivation. If he gets a little sniff of this blue meth, maybe he's right back on track. So there's that thing, to answer your question, I guess, of where the show's going. There's that, obviously. Interesting that we don't see Gus in either of these episodes after seeing him make a big statement, kind of backing what Mike said about not seeing Gus anymore. So every time we see him, or the next time we see him, we'll feel like it's important as a viewer because of his absence, I guess, throughout these two episodes. As for Jesse, I mean, you can't even imagine, he's obviously in the darkest place he's been throughout the show's length. So where does he go with that? Does he get better? Maybe he goes worse before he gets better. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. And like we said, we get the car wash, which is a whole other ordeal. Wow, just waiting to come.
Yeah, lots of storylines, and it shapes up for, we're on to episode 4 and 5 next week, which we're starting to get to the middle of the season, which is, it always heats up, as we know, as seasons go along in Breaking Bad. And but yeah, these were two kind of building episodes, but I love the way this episode ended, and Walter getting the car wash, but also him being still so focused on Gus is so interesting, because it's kind of like a battle between these two really intelligent people to see who's going to get the better of the other. And they're very much both very cavalier, both confident, smart men. And it is an interesting battle of wits.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. Ever since Gus was added to the show, it really has been battle of the brains, battle of the two bald guys wearing glasses. And that's, that's how it feels, really. I mean, these guys are so smart, and they really are just kind of playing chess. And even though you could say Gus is obviously a much more resourceful person, has, just much more cash flow and seems more established, well, Walter also has tricks up his sleeves that he'll pull out later in the season.
Absolutely. But yeah, good episodes today. We're on episodes 4 and 5 next week. Like you said, we'll be seeing each other soon in Fredericton, which will be fun for Turkey weekend to watch Tally play her first games as a UMB Red. But for the rest of this week, we're already Wednesday. Hump day today. Another day of work in. You got your test done. Any big plans for the rest of the week for you?
I'm gonna get a round of golf in this week, and also get a wedding on Saturday, which should be fun. I haven't been to a wedding, what feels like, in a long time due to COVID and other measures. I think Tanner's wedding, Tanner Agnew, would be the last wedding I would have been at. But no, I'm really looking forward to that. That should be a good time. But enjoying just not being studying is just more of a thrill of anything for me. But what about you? Is anything special going on? Do you watch anything good on your weekends, Juggy?
Yeah, watch a football game every now and then. When I get free time. But
I also want to make a statement to Ben. If he ever listens to this, Ben is a great ad. I don't know why he thought he wasn't he wasn't going to call back, because I like his takes. He's got good takes. And he knows his shit, which I like. One voice I'd like to hear back on for football would be Beersy. I think he's got some defending to do against his Lions, and some other takes I want to hear him say as well.
Yeah, he hates old L Jack, and I gave him a text the other night when Lamar was out playing Patrick Mahomes. So yeah, he can't throw the ball, but he can beat the best quarterback in football. But what do I know? But yeah, no, Ben. Yeah, that's what I told Benny after. I said, "You're great. Like, don't be surprised. I'd have you on every week if you wanted to come on." But I'll be podcasting with Matt Wright on Friday. We'll talk about, this week in the NFL, the preview this weekend, some real good games. San Francisco, Green Bay on Sunday night. We got Chiefs Chargers in the afternoon, which should be an interesting game. Your Cleveland Browns against Justin Fields. Andy Dalton rolled out today. Justin Fields will make his first career start for the Bears against the Browns. So some interesting games. I'll start college football, and this weekend, you know my routine. Saturday from about 1 o'clock till likely after 2:30, because UFC 256 is Saturday night. So
Who's on the card for that for you? What are you looking forward to that?
I'm looking forward to watching Nick Diaz return to the octagon. He's going to fight Robbie Lawler. Also on the undercard, Dan Hooker is fighting. He's a guy I like to watch fight, so that'll be great. Some real good cards coming up for the UFC, which I'm very excited about. And also in the afternoon, Anthony Joshua fights boxing, so I'll probably tune that on. And Sundays and Saturdays also, are football days. So probably a lot of screen time for yours truly over those.
I'm amazed you haven't got the second
period.
tube yet. I thought you'd have the second tube for sure on your table, your kitchen table, let's say.
Yeah. I got the computer rolling. I got the Game Pass. I signed up for DAZN, and I get all the football games. I rewatched the Jets and New England the other night, which I'm not that proud of, but I did rewatch that.
I wouldn't be either, but I mean, it is what it is, I guess. I mean, Zach Wilson just seems like such a talent at this point. I don't know how you wouldn't want to watch him.
Yeah, I wanted to see those picks. But it's, some people like drugs, some people like shopping. I like sports, and it's whatever. It sometimes it's too much, but I enjoy it. But no, enjoy the wedding.
Thank you.
Enjoy the I do's. Have a clean game of golf, and
maybe an I don't. Who knows?
maybe yell out. I've always wanted to be at a wedding and yell out, I object. So maybe you can beat me to the punch. But enjoy the rest of your week, man, and we'll be back to break it all down next week.
Yes, good luck. Tell Ryder I miss him as much. Tell him, Bachelor in Paradise, just so good. I know how much he loves it, and just tell him, I'm thinking about him every time I see a commercial for it.
Oh, actually, before we wrap, I wanted to tell you something you and Kennedy could watch.
Okay, give it to me. I'm
starting tonight, for the first time in 18 months, Survivor is back on this evening.
Are you? I'm assuming you're tuning in.
I'll be tuning in. Yes, I'll be. It's
on
a 2-hour premiere tonight.
I know you don't get excited.
Mm-hmm.
But on a scale of 1 to, I'm gonna enjoy this. How high are you up there? 1 to 10, give it to me.
I'm a 10.
You're not. Oh, knowing you internally, you're probably a 12, but you're coming off as you're not.
Yeah. No, I'm very much looking forward. 18 months, no Survivor. Looks like a great cast. And I love, as you know, I love the show. And yeah, you and Kennedy.
What time does it start?
9 o'clock.
Yeah, I could tune in and then maybe rewatch the last hour. I need my Z's.
Yeah, you get a couple hours, rewatch it tomorrow night before the big Thursday nighter that I know you're pumped for, Houston, Carolina.
I'll be no doubt in my mind. I'll be tuning into that. I gotta watch Tay-Rod just do his thing.
He's actually hurt.
Oh,
he's not playing. It's Davis Mills, your boy from Stanford.
Yeah, I'll consider it for sure. The high consideration, the Jags or not the Jags, Carolina.
2-0 Panthers, but no Survivor. I have Survivor tonight, 9 o'clock, so that should be fun. But have a great week, man, and we'll be in touch next week.
Yes, thank you.
All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week to break it all down. Enjoy the games, enjoy the weather, and maybe tune into Survivor tonight. You might just enjoy it. But until then, we'll talk soon.